What's up, everybody, and welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Thank you so much for being here. Today it is April 23rd, 2021, and we are talking about all things PlayStation. We are talking about the FPS Boost titles that are out right now through EA Play and Xbox Game Pass. A little bit of news to be talking about with the Sony side of things on PlayStation, looking at the exclusive new publisher coming over there. And we're just going to be chit-chatting for a little bit regarding some of the new PlayStation adding support for streaming for 1080p capable games over on PlayStation Now. If you guys are new to the show, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up if you enjoy the show. We are live here today on the Assemble Show, giving you all the nerdy news you need to know about and you want to cover and chit-chat with us about. So, if you are new to the show, thank you so much for joining us. If you are a returning member, thank you for being here and thanks for joining us today. So let's get started and let's kick things off with talking about the FPS Boost titles, Game Pass, as well as looking at those titles and a little bit of news and conversation around Battlefront and what that might mean. So the first article that we have here is we're looking at that Microsoft brings FPS Boost support to 13 EA games on Xbox Series X and S today, which was yesterday. If you can't get enough of those video game frames, Microsoft has a bit. This article comes from Matt Wales over at Eurogamer, talking about the latest news in the boost that we're getting from more titles. If you just can't get enough of those video game frames, Microsoft has a bit of a treat for you today in the form of the FPS Boost support for 13 EA titles, including Battlefield 5, Titanfall 2, and Star Wars Battlefront 2. These are not small titles by any means. This is pretty cool. I enjoy me some boost mode. I liked it when Xbox initially announced this originally. I was a big fan of them doing the brand new boost mode. This is a great feature that they have. The article continues that FPS Boost, which debuted in February of this year of 2021, is designed to increase frame rates of legacy Xbox One games when they run on the Series X and S and pushing them up to 120 beautiful frames per second, which I love. Perry Stark, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us here today. The article continues that to date, we've seen FPS Boost support for things like Skyrim and Dishonored and Sniper Elite 4, Watch Dogs 2, Fallout 76, but today, on April 22nd, which was yesterday, that selection has been expanding for 13 titles from the EA Play catalog, which can also be accessed as part of Game Pass Ultimate, which I have, and I'm a big fan of Game Pass Ultimate. The titles that we have, everybody, are looking like this. We have Battlefield 1, but the big thing to look at too is some of these games are giving you at 120 hertz per second as well as 60 hertz per second depending on the game itself. And I'm pretty excited to be able to get my hands and re-download a lot of these titles. So we've got, kicking things off, we got Battlefield 1, 4, and 5 all at 120 hertz per second on Series X. What's good is that on the Battlefield 4 side of things, the Series S is actually getting 120 hertz support. This is great because the Battlefield series itself is a really awesome one. I'm excited for the next installment of Battlefield. It's always one that I love how big it was. Battlefield 4, I remember when that one came out on the PlayStation 4, I believe, originally. Yeah, and it was plagued with bugs. I remember picking that up at my EB Games, being excited about it, being with my buddies, picking that game up, ready to play. I remember I had two consoles going. One was mine, one was my buddy's. Two monitors, separate screens, and we're ready to connect and go online. And the online, I remember, was absolutely broken. But EA has done a great job with the Battlefield series. Giving it longevity is the biggest thing. It's a beautiful game. Battlefield 5 was great. Still has a huge fan base. Still doing extremely well. Love me some Battlefield. It's good stuff. So Battlefield 1, 4, and 5. Mirror's Edge Catalyst at 120 hertz. Plants vs. Zombies series, so from Garden Warfare to Battle of the Neighborville, Garden Warfare 2, are all getting 120 hertz support. Sea of Solitude, I haven't played that one. 60 hertz. Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 are getting 120 hertz. This one I'm excited about because Star Wars Battlefront 2 is again very much a title that I really enjoyed. And when it initially came out, the campaign was very average. The multiplayer, while it was plagued with like loot crates, loot boxes, EA got a ton of heat at the time for this, for not supporting the game properly, for having microtransactions in the game. They completely pulled that back. They did better fan service. They made the game more user-friendly. It's gorgeous. Having that engine in there, it makes Battlefront beautiful, beautiful game. So having this thing at 120 hertz per second, I'm excited to go back and play Battlefront 2. The ones that I am very excited for are going to be Titanfall. Well, we have Titanfall 1 and 2 and Unravel 2, all coming in at 120 hertz per second. Titanfall 2 is the one for me. Out of this entire list, guys, let me know in the chat and what you think. Which titles out of these, if you are members of Game Pass Ultimate and you have EA Play through that, PC or Xbox, are any of these titles exciting to you? Are you looking forward to anything here? For me, it's going to be Battlefield 5, Star Wars Battlefront 2, and Titanfall 2. Those titles I am definitely going to have to go back and get my hands on. The thing I got to remember, though, I got like no storage left. This is the biggest thing that is driving me nuts. It's my first world problem I have. I got no storage space. I keep downloading and deleting games. I've got an HDD drive backed up with all the older titles. And then I got to transfer those over if I want to play something, but I don't like doing any of that stuff. I want to get the big plug-in. I am saving up my beaver dollars here in Canada, and I am trying to save it, damn it, to get a brand new SSD, the plug-in for the back of my Series X. I want it. I need it. I need it to happen. Xbox, hit me up. Let me know. We can have a little partnership. We can have a good love time. Get this thing to happen. But those titles I'm excited for. Perry says in the chat, thank you for being here, buddy. Let me just put this up there, guys, if you can, and if you enjoy the show, do me a favor and subscribe to the show and follow us on Twitter. Go over to the Twitter and the Twitter machine and type and go to twitter.com/assemble_show to hit me up there. We can chit chat, we can talk video games, nerdy news, if you want to talk Marvel, DC, all of that fun stuff. Perry says, do you think Xbox and PlayStation hinting a partnership working together, then going up against each other in a console war? Perry, I'm not too sure. It's a good question. I am not thinking that there is much a console war conversation. We can totally do another episode on this. I don't feel that this is something that is happening very much anymore. I was on Brap podcast last weekend talking to those guys over there who are fantastic. Go look up the Brap podcast because I love those guys. But we were talking a lot about console war. The chat was talking about console wars, and my perspective was that Xbox and PlayStation are going down two different paths, and they are targeting different markets. And we'll get into the Sony side of things in a bit because it kind of supports what's going on with Sony. But I do believe that they are just simply going down two different roads. And I think that Xbox is, the Coles notes of all of this is Xbox is focusing in on subscription model. They want the massive player base that is nearing or is already at 20 million subscribers for Game Pass. Doesn't mean it's concurrent, live players, all of that stuff. But 20 million members are signed up for Xbox Game Pass across their platform. Having things working on xCloud, expanding that into iOS right now, PC with Game Pass, having these titles, EA Play built into Game Pass Ultimate. This is the model that Xbox is going down and down the road, where they feel that this is going to be the best for players as well as, you know, investors in their wallets too, and get the biggest return. Sony's side of things is interesting. And before we get into that, I do want to just focus in on this FPS Boost before we move on to the next news story, because it does touch on PlayStation strategy and dealing with exclusive titles and just sticking with exclusivity going forward. But I do feel that the Xbox is really going down the path of having multiple games, the Netflix style, being able to jump into titles, being able to support smaller developers, and they have just a wide gambit of titles that are under their belt right now. While PlayStation, I think, is going for more of the tried and true model of getting their exclusive titles as the big heavy hitters, and that's what they want, and that's what they want to focus on. When it comes to the FPS boost, I love this because it gives so much new life and brings players like me back. Microsoft notes at the end of this article, Microsoft notes that some of the games on the list have seen their resolution reduced when FPS Boost is active to ensure a smoother experience. In these instances, FPS Boost isn't automatically enabled, but can be turned on using the relevant settings and compatibility options as detailed in today's announcement post. And Digital Foundry has done some comparisons here as well. I love Digital Foundry, but showing off the difference between the different boosts, the titles going into different boost modes, and seeing what the difference really is across the board. I absolutely love this. It brings resurgence of life into specific titles. I love that I can go back into games like Battlefield and Battlefront and even Titanfall. Like, I loved Titanfall 2. I thought the campaign was actually very solid too. It was a great game. I love the one thing that I found with Titanfall 2 specifically was that at the time when it released, Call of Duty was doing very similar work in terms of having like uber fast wall jumping, like just Twitch gaming, shooting mechanics. Like everything was so fast paced on the Call of Duty side. And then Titanfall 2 was very much doing that in, you know, futuristic setting and all of that for the military. I just found that the two games, the two titles, the two franchises were overlapping each other so much at the time. And then it's been nice that Call of Duty has gone back to slowing things down a little bit more, focusing in on World War I, World War II, and all of this, and allowing Titanfall, while an older title, giving it some life and be able to breathe on its own. I love it when I want to be able to go into extremely fast shooting mechanic, wall jumping, getting into my Titan. All that stuff is just fun. Titanfall 2 is a really great game if you're into you know, a quick-paced shooter with really tight shooting mechanics. And again, I love the fact that for Xbox, I was going to say Xbox. No, that's WWE. I think that for Xbox players, Game Pass members, this gives so much life to games and re-energizes so many different franchises for players to be able to come back and enjoy or enjoy for the very first time. And I think that that's really important. It breathes new life into the catalogs. Being able to have something like Battlefield 5, Battlefield 4, Plants vs. Zombies 2 are fun to pick up and play. And it's showing off the hardware. And we talk a lot about, and communities talk a lot about how there are no games. There are no games, first-party titles, franchises on Xbox. And yes, we can get EA Play on PlayStation side. But for PC players as well, having EA Play available through Xbox, through Game Pass, is a huge win too. Being able to jump into something like Battlefront 2 on your PC with 120 hertz per second, with just a bananas of a PC, you are going to do really well on that side. Perry says, would you like to see a standalone Marvel games for Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Scarlet, Black Panther, Marvel in the future? 100%. I'd love to see those titles. It's random, Perry, but thank you. Yeah, I would totally love to see those on their own. Now, we talked a little bit about Sony and the comparisons between, you know, what Xbox is doing on their side of things and then what is Sony doing on their side. And what are they offering? And this article came out yesterday, and this one that we're looking at is from IGN. PlayStation to exclusively publish multiplayer game from Firewalk Studios and Firewalk Studios, excuse me. Firewalk's teams include former Destiny, Halo, Apex Legends, and other devs. Former developers coming together and forming Firewalk Studios. This is pretty cool. Jonathan Dornbush, awesome guy, writes the article and says that Sony and Probably Monsters have announced a new partnership in which PlayStation will be exclusive publishing partner for the first game from Probably Monsters Firewalk Studios. And the article continues that Firewalk's AAA multiplayer game in development currently does not have a planned release window, nor do we have many specifics on what the game will entail, and not even whether it's targeted for both PS5 and PS4, or just Sony's newest system, given the studio's billing as next-generation AAA studio. But Firewalk's Tony Su, Ryan Ellis, and Elena Sigmund, along with head of PlayStation Studios Herman Hultz, spoke with IGN about both parties wanted to partner on this project. Continuing on, why Firewalk and PlayStation wanted to work together. This project will be Firewalk's first game since the studio founded in 2018, so we are 3 years in for this actual studio without having a game coming out yet. And both sides of the partnership have been talking about since the potential for this new but experience of Teams game. Excuse me. Then about potential for this new but experienced Teams game. Firewalk is an incredibly talented bunch of people, and they have worked on very interesting games collectively and individually in the past. They're a brand new team now, and working with Firewalk gives us the best of two worlds. Hulse explained in an interview with IGN that, quote, on the one hand, we get to collaborate with the studios right off the bat, so we get the magical early stage full of curiosity, exploring new ways of making games and making new games, and on the other hand, there's the real depth experience. So we're going to be getting a exclusive PlayStation studio, Firewalk Studios, working with Sony together to be able to put this in action. What do you guys think? Does it excite you to have a new AAA multiplayer games coming down the pipe from Sony? And would this mean anything to you? It sounds like when you have people from Apex and Destiny coming together, been in the works for a few years now as a studio and as a development team, what do you think that we are going to get out of this studio and being published by Sony? So in the article it continues, it says, what is Firewalk's multiplayer PlayStation published game? We don't know much. Firewalk hasn't confirmed in what realm of multiplayer the game will be. Shared universe, traditional competitive multiplayer, battle royale, some mix of everything. Obviously, with the team's pedigree, there's hope that lessons can be learned from the ups and downs of all major franchises to craft something familiar, yet making it new. Sony's been pretty quiet. Sony hasn't been doing or saying much of anything lately. This has turned a lot of people in the community questioning what is going on with Sony right now. Why aren't they talking? Why aren't they releasing any new information regarding their games? Why aren't they talking about what's coming down the pipe? And I think that, and there was an article that was read the other day, but basically Sony was saying how like they're quiet right now, but they've got a lot of things in the works. I have a feeling that with announcing this or putting this out currently, this doesn't announce anything other than, hey, we have Firewalk Studio working with Sony. They're publishing a multiplayer game of some sort that's going to be coming down the pipe. We don't know when, we don't know what, we don't know where, but it's going to happen. I think that this announcement was in large part to be able to have Sony and Firewalk be able to get ahead of the curve, to avoid any leaks, to be able to avoid being found out that they are working on something and then that they're not ready to showcase anything at the moment. For a studio that has been working for the last almost 3 years on a franchise, on a major franchise for multiplayer, with the pedigree of these people that are coming in from Destiny and Apex Legends, I'm excited to see what it will mean if they can take a nuance to multiplayer and take what has worked in the past for them on the Apex side of things, on the Destiny side of things, and be able to put something together that is going to take multiplayer gaming to a new level and bring in new experience. I think that's the biggest thing. This just shows that Sony is very, very keen on making sure that they are going for AAA experiences and they are focusing in on exclusivity as a whole and less on smaller titles that they want to be able to kind of showcase off. It's not to say that smaller titles would not be on Sony on the PlayStation side. It just means, in my opinion, that Sony is really looking at themselves as saying, we want AAA, big, giant, banger, tentpole experiences that have longevity, that are exclusive, that we put the Sony branding and products behind, and we beef up our catalog with these 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10 experiences, hopefully, and they're going down that route. And that's what I take out of this, is that Sony is really trying to make sure that they double down. I'm excited to see what they bring. I wonder if and when this would actually come out, and when we would see this thing kind of come to life and come to fruition. Because I don't think that I think that we can see this start to make its way around the time of E3. Because we're having a digital event. You wouldn't have to do much. What would be really cool is for Firewalk to come out virtually and be able to just say, hey, this is the Firewalk team, and we're really excited. We have been in development. Give them a little montage and give them a little trailer showcasing who they are, what their past skills are, what they have worked on together and individually, and bringing this unique team together to build this studio out and working with Sony and what it means. What would they take advantage of and what people can expect? Even if they're not being able to come out and showcase the game that they're working on yet, on one hand, I think that it would be amazing, and they should try to strive for some sort of trailer, teaser trailer, anything to show that they're going to have a brand new game in maybe another year, in end of 2022, fall of 2022, for example, what they're going to be bringing out. We don't know yet. But I only say 2022 because they have been together now for a few years. Development cycle, all that could take a long time if they're trying to build something out that's going to be really a huge success. And I think that if they did come out at at E3 digitally, put them on their virtual stage, talking about what the team is working on and what to expect. And even if you can get an, PC version build of the game that they're working on and give us a little tiny slice of what they're doing and rendered on a PC, or even if they want to put the splash on there that it's like everything you're seeing is PlayStation 5, for example, something that'd be able to get fans interested, because this isn't a small thing, and Sony is going to want, and I think Sony is going to want to make sure that if this is a new multiplayer team, if this is going to be a new franchise focus on multiplayer, going to be their version of a new Destiny, a new Apex Legends, and those things now tell me that would wonder what you guys think, but do you think that this title, whatever it is, could it be free to play? If they're talking Apex Legends, that's why I say that. But if it's going to be a Sony exclusive, you know what? I take that back. If it's a Sony exclusive title, they're probably going to want it to be purchased. But if they do this, I think that if they put a little snippet trailer together at E3, talk with the developers, that's going to be a lot of goodwill being bought in and being able to allow them to showcase themselves. And I think that that's going to be really cool. Folks, thanks so much for joining us here. Thanks for being in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe to the show if you're enjoying yourself here. Give it a thumbs up and check us out over on Twitter at the Twitter /assemble_show, youtube.com/assemble show if you guys are interested. We've got tips, the tip jar thing I put in there. I don't know why. But more for members. If it's for members, subscribers, it gives me those little notifications, and that's why I put that up there. So the Firewalk is interesting. I am curious of what this is actually going to mean for everybody. Now let's take a second here, and let's go over to the chat. Perry says that, has CEO of PlayStation Jim Ryan confirmed for backwards compatibility for PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games on the PlayStation 5 console? Not backwards compatibility, but from what I have read, and we're going to get into the next article in just a second, my friend, of what is Sony doing with their PlayStation Now service. Andrew Barrasso, hi, good to see you. You huge fan? I huge fan. I huge fan of you, Andrew Barrasso. Wow, hi. Diego, hi. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the show. Now let's kick things over and continuing the news with Sony. This comes from Gadgets 360. I'm pulling the article from. This is kind of all over the place too. PlayStation Now to add support. PlayStation Now being their online streaming service. PlayStation Now to add support for streaming 1080p capable games this week. Hot dog, hot diggity dog. They're doing things, guys. They're taking PlayStation Now and they are Doing something. Not a lot. Just a little bit. I'm still looking at, by the way, the fact that they came out with PlayStation Now. They put Marvel's Avengers on PlayStation Now, but it's the original, like, 1080p non-up-res version of Marvel's Avengers. That was an interesting move. Let me know what you guys think. PlayStation Now is an interesting thing. Anyways, we'll get into the article. PlayStation Now users, and this comes from Vinette, Washington. PlayStation Now users will soon be able to stream certain games at 1080p resolution. Sony has announced on Twitter, and PlayStation Now is Sony's cloud streaming subscription service that allows PlayStation 5, 4, and PC users to play PS4, 3, and 2 games. There are over 800 games that can be streamed on PS4 and PC, while over 300 games can be downloaded to the PS4. What about the PlayStation 5? So, PlayStation Now is only available for a few regions, and India is not one of them. Sony, through its PlayStation account on Twitter, announced that PlayStation Now will start to support streaming 1080p capable titles this week. The feature will be available in Europe, US, Canada, that's me, and Japan, which is where PlayStation Now is available. The rollout will continue in the coming weeks to these regions. Perry Stark with the $5 donation. Perry, thank you so much. That's incredibly generous of you. Thank you. Thank you for being a huge supporter of the show. Love ya. Way to go. I missed the jar little notification. It dingles and dangles when that stuff happens. I'll have to check it out again. Oh, it's doing it. That's cool. That's silly. Matt likes streaming things now. Till now, the article continues. Till now, PlayStation Now streaming has been capped at 720p. But with the new feature, games that support 1080p can be streamed at that resolution on PS5, PS4, and PC. And Sony mentions 1080p capable games, which likely means that only games that natively run at 1080p can be streamed using PlayStation Now. So to pause there for a second. So what this means is that if there is a title, I'll just use Borderlands for example. If Borderlands on PlayStation Now streams at natively 1080p, it's going to come in at 1080p. Whereas before, Borderlands, if it was native 1080p, was only coming out capped at 720p. So it was getting down-resed. Now, they've up-resed it to old software. God. Jeez, man. It's such a... So now Borderlands can run at 1080p when it is native 1080p, but it can't up-res games that are 720p and put them into 1080. It should be noted that a lot of games do not run natively at 1080p, and Sony has not shared a list of compatible games yet. So PlayStation Now is $9.99 or $25 for 3 months. There's also the annual of $60. On top of that, you would have your PlayStation Plus membership. And 800 games can be streamed. 300 can be downloaded. And the recent ones are the Borderlands coming in, Marvel's Avengers that came over to PlayStation Now. So I wanted to bring this up with all of you because PlayStation Now is a service that good old Matt here has like never entertained. Ever. I think I turned on PlayStation Now probably on my PlayStation 4 originally, and whenever PlayStation Now originally came out, I remember trying it out, and I remember not liking it then and having zero interest in it now. Because, and I think a lot of it is to the detriment or to Sony's lack of focus on it as a main piece of their whole puzzle and what they bring as a platform. I don't think Sony is interested in PlayStation Now as this huge upfront service, at least right now, that they really want to tout and they really want to push forward. I think Sony is really, really doubling down on their AAA exclusives. That's their focus. That's their MO. They want to be able to put out 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 experiences, like I said. And that's the focus, and that's the game plan. PlayStation Now is an additional service add-on for players that want to be able to go into a bit of a back library of things. But it doesn't make much sense to me to be able to jump in there when I have, on my side of things, I have Game Pass. And at the very least, Game Pass, if you just, not to size them up next to each other, because they're a little bit different, and Game Pass has done a great job of being able to download games. But see, like, Sony just throws in there, like, you can download up to 300 titles. Well, I didn't know that. I had no idea that they were doing all of that. Or that they have 800 titles in their catalog. They don't market this thing. They don't advertise PlayStation Now. It's this additional service that they offer. And I wondered, and we talked about this the other day regarding PlayStation's, the PlayStation Plus, the Movie Pass service, and how that will get rolled into everything. And I'm still wondering what they will end up doing with that service and how it will actually turn out. Will it be... Well, actually, there was an article on IGN. See if I can pull it up. This was from yesterday. PlayStation Movie Pass. Because it was coming out to Poland for, I believe, for 1 year. Yeah, so PlayStation, it is coming to Poland. PlayStation Video Pass is a app, and it will be tested out for a year in Poland. So looking at Joe Scrabble's writing the article up, they confirmed that Sony confirmed that the PlayStation Video Pass is a trial service and it's running in Poland for a whole year. This was a piece that I missed out on the other day when we were doing our stream, because it was really talking about just that it was leaked, and then it's now been confirmed. We also had the updates, remember, on the Sony side, on Sony video film side of things, that the Sony Studios is going to have the Spider-Man titles and a lot of titles coming out to Disney Plus through their contract agreement after they have like expired, or they've been out for a certain amount of time on Netflix, because they have the Netflix deal too. But when it comes to the Video Pass service, they're going to have 21 movies, and I looked at this too, by the way, guys. I looked at this the other day. They'll have 21 movies and TV shows at no extra cost to PlayStation Plus subscribers. Speaking of spiderwebs, Sony's Nick McGuire explains that the pass comes in the form of a PS4, PS5 app. Okay, so this is going to be its own standalone app for their Movie Pass. God, it's such a weird thing to be doing right now. Which initially allows PlayStation Plus subscribers to watch 21 movies and TV shows, including Venom, Baby Driver, and all 6 seasons of Community. Hooray! So everything that's on Netflix. McGuire says the new titles will be added to that list every 3 months, and no change to PS Plus price in Poland will be made. Well, it's a trial, right? It's a 1-year trial that they're doing with this in Poland to kick it off, to see how it works. Can it stand the bandwidth? What's the feedback? Adding and dribbling in titles. So for a 1-year title, it's not going to do anything. If you hear a beep, that has a space heater in here. He's warming his toes. He gets chilly. McGuire didn't give a set idea of when or if the service would be extended to other regions. The Polish test will allow Sony to see which titles are most watched and how often the apps are used by PlayStation Plus subscribers. What's the current PlayStation Plus subscriber mark? How many users do we have on PlayStation Plus right now? That's what I kind of want to know right off the now. PS Plus subscribers. So currently, we're at almost 47.4 million if I'm going by Statista for their news. So if we're looking at nearly, that was 2020, December 2020 data. See this? So we've got worldwide, as of last December, let's just say now it's probably in north of 50 million users. Subscribers. Doesn't mean it's active users for PlayStation Plus. So you and I know Sony would have the data of how many subscribers in Poland there are. And then they would be able to match up the data together to be able to show, just what I'm thinking off the top of my head. Sony would be able to match up the data together to go, okay, we are releasing this in Poland. We can look at the current subscriber mark for all of our Polish users. And then we're going to look at the active users that are actually then not only on PlayStation playing games, but then couple it with who is actually taking advantage of the new app and the PlayStation Plus video service. I'm glad that it is. The good news and the thing that I think is positive here, guys, is that I'm glad that it is its own standalone app. That means that we can see it on other services. Excuse me. We could see it on Xbox. We could see it on your TV, Apple TV, Google, Fire Sticks. I think that that's really good news because you don't want to have this thing buried in. This is what I said the other day on the show. I don't want this thing to be buried in the PlayStation Store because then I don't think it has a chance in hell. It's going to get buried amongst everything. Andrew Barrasso in the chat. Just pause for a second, guys. Will WWE 2K, going over, you're talking WWE 2K, my man. Andrew, hot dog, I love talking WWE 2K. We'll focus on this for a second here. Will WWE 2K have Road to WrestleMania? I don't know, Andrew. I want it. I need it. I need some sort of online not showcase mode. I need a Road to WrestleMania like I had in my old No Mercy days. I want that. Let me pick a guy. Let me pick Triple H, and let me just run to Road to WrestleMania. Give me something like that. I want it. Ladies and gentlemen, Perry Starks, if we can give a little virtual clap. Perry Starks is a new and official Assemble Universe member. Perry, welcome to the Assemble Universe. You too can join the Assemble Universe by becoming a member. Get free emotes, things like that. Matt, will you do an unboxing video for 2K22? Okay. Andrew. I paused because I'm like, which system am I going to get it on? Yes, I will. What I want to do, Andrew, is we're going off the rails for a second here, guys. Bear with me. Stick with me. Hang tight, Andrew. This is for you. What I want to do in here is I have ideas for expanding the studio. And what I want to do is I want to be able to get an additional camera. I saw this whole this arm thing the other day on a stream. And I want to be able to get a second camera for an overhead. Shoot that bad boy to do unboxings. I don't know what I would unbox, but hell yeah, I will totally unbox for you WWE 2K22 if and when it ever comes out. I will get... See, now you're making me get the physical copy, but then at the same time, because this is a brand new step into the game, I'm so nervous about it, by the way. But if I can get that in like the Steelbook Deluxe Edition physical copy, I think I would. There is also the possibility nowadays, with everything that's going on, that Xbox just scoops it up for Game Pass, day and date, and then it's just on Game Pass. If that's the case, I can't do an unboxing unless WWE 2K team is going to donate a copy to us. Andrew, I will do it for you. CM Punk, AJ Lee. What type of DLC do you see in 2K22? For 2K22? For DLC, I see Rob Van Dam. I think they do a Legends pack of some sort that they're going to be able to put out there, whether it is going to be new superstars. AJ Lee is a good one. Punk, I wonder about, Andrew, because if you put Punk in the game as a special DLC piece, I think that overshadows what the game is trying to do, but they could do a Punk release later in the year if they just want to even just pepper it in. The problem I have, or where I hesitate, is because if they put Punk as future DLC, that gets fans rolling up about how Punk might be coming back to WWE, and everything we read, even up until last week, you know, he's touching on more interest working in New Japan and AEW or nowhere than he is in WWE. Well, we'll see. I like the AJ Lee one. Punk would be cool. I like them to do a Brody Lee as well, if they could do that. I think the cover star should be Brody Lee. I think it should be Brody Lee. I would like to see Brody Lee on the AEW cover. That would be pretty cool. I think that would be really nice of them. And Ray. We'll talk WWE in a second. If you guys hang on, I'll give an extra couple of minutes on the stream. We're going to be wrapping up this episode today of the news. So the PlayStation Plus Video Pass and the movies. It's interesting. I don't particularly care that much, only because these titles are all on Netflix or Amazon or on, we can go through HBO Max or Crave TV in Canada. But what they're coming out with is Bloodshot, Jumanji, Zombieland 2, Charlie's Angels, Venom, The Equalizer, Baby Driver, Blade Runner, and on it goes. The Video Pass TV shows, this made me laugh because I was like, that's it? So for PlayStation Plus Video Pass TV shows that they will give you to start anyways, just to start, because, every few months they'll roll out more, but Futurama, Seasons 1 to 3, Super Mansion, never watched it, Community, Deadly Class, SWAT, and Lost Girl. Like, that's it. It's kind of a meh. Again, it's a trial. They're not trying to say, like, we're coming to full tilt and we're releasing this thing to the public. They're just testing a service out. It's fine. I give them a pass for Video Pass. But this is clearly a response to me. This is clearly a push by Sony Pictures and the Sony video teams over there to be able to put together a streaming service platform for their video content, because the Sony Pictures is massive. We talked about this the other day. The video library, the film library on the Sony side is absolutely ridiculous, and it's beautiful. There's so much out there. So it makes sense that they are coming with it, and I think because, and I mentioned this the other day on the show, is that I think because we've seen Peacock, you've seen HBO Max doing so much with day and date. Disney Plus is insane right now, and it continues to just drop bangers all the time. I think that this is a great move by Sony to be able to have this. I just don't know, unless the library becomes much, much, much bigger with really up-to-date releases, and it's built in, if it continues to be for PlayStation Plus subscribers, if they keep that in 2, 3, 4 years from now, or from when they fully release it worldwide, it's got a shot, because the Sony library is great. And again, post-pandemic, when the movie theaters are open, if everybody, like Disney, Sony, HBO, if they're all going day and date with their theatrical releases, and they are continuing what we have now, where they've opened the box of saying, hey, you can watch Black Widow day and date on Disney Plus, $35 rental. We've seen this on Apple TV as well already. HBO Max is doing it. Mortal Kombat is out today too. Let me know in the chat, is Mortal Kombat on HBO Max? Because I have Crave TV in Canada, but I think we get it. But is Mortal Kombat a rental, like a $35 day and date rental release, or is it just HBO Max included in your membership? Let me know in the chat if you guys know, because I don't know. But I think that this is good. I would like to see what the service will be in a couple of years, and if they can bring day and date titles on the Sony Picture side to this. Having a subscriber base of like 50 million to work with for Sony Pictures going into the PlayStation side of things, this beefs up their entire base. And I think that for investors, for shares, for all of that, it looks real good. It looks real good on paper for Sony to have potentially have the ability to say that we have 50 million users. And it's a good, just for marketing, it's a good splash tag to be able to say, hey, we have 50 million subscribers for Sony PlayStation Plus users. And I mean, if they get 10% of that, if they can get a small percentage of their own subscriber base and people that are going to get it on their own that are not PlayStation Plus subscribers, Sony can do pretty well with this. Again, the catalog has to be there. But it gets confusing a little bit too when you have Sony Pictures titles like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is coming over to Disney after it's done with Netflix. What does that mean with their own Video Pass service? You're going to have movies like Venom on there, and Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage potentially when that comes out and it's on this service. And then you have the Spider-Man catalog, like the Raimi films and the Amazing Spider-Man. Then they're also going to be on Disney. And I get it. It's good. It's good for Sony overall. For Sony Pictures, they're getting the revenue every which way. Good for them. But as a user, you're turning on every streaming service. I turn on Disney and I'll turn on Netflix. And then if I turn on this video pass for Sony, I'm getting the same movies everywhere from them. So I'm like, I'm not clicking on them. I'm looking for net new content. And I think so many people are as well. And if their TV content that they house in there is Sony specific, I don't know. Like, unless it's just old shows, I feel like people are moving on a lot, to be honest. They're looking for new content. New content. We've all binged everything old. And people have less and less time to give, to buy movies, to buy seasons of shows. People want to binge their TV shows and they want to watch a movie and they want to see even original content. Because that's what, at least I go for, what the Assemble House goes for, is original programming. We want original shows. We'll look at some new releases in theaters. This year, last 2 years is a wash, obviously. But traditionally for us, living in the streaming world, my wife and I we were looking for those Netflix originals, Amazon originals, things like that. Andrew Barrasso says, Avengers Assemble. I can't believe Iron Man died. He's my favorite. Are you just throwing out Endgame facts, Andrew? I'm joking. It was sad. But we'll see what happens with Multiverse. So guys, what do you think of Video Pass? Does it do anything for you? Excited? Don't care? It's coming to Poland anyways for the first year, so we can't care too much. It'll be interesting to see what it does and if it will be anything. And to wrap things up, we got a short show today, guys. I say short, but we're going for almost an hour. If you guys want to, you can subscribe to the show and go to youtube.com/assembleshow where you are right now. You give it a thumbs up, give it a follow, share it with your friends, your family, cute girls down the block, whatever you got to do. Follow us on Twitter. Twitter.com/_ what is it? Twitter, assemble_show. I should probably know my own stuff. Matt's tired. It's okay. It's Friday. It's a happy day. Perry says, with Sony, they are doing the right bringing these Marvel movies to Disney+. 100%. I think that bringing the Sony movies like Morbius, Spider-Man films over to Disney at any point is just, it's good all around. It's good for fans and it just makes sense. You can't keep doing this back and forth stuff. I don't think Sony will ever give up the rights to Spider-Man, just as a sidebar. I think they'll hold on to that property forever until Disney just freaking buys it and gives them unseen amount of money just to be able to hold that property. That IP is way too valuable, but I'm looking forward to it too. To wrap things up today on the show, everybody, we've got 13 games, EA games for Series X and S. I'm excited for this piece. I will totally be doing it this weekend to be able to try things out again, like Battlefield 5, Titanfall 2, and Star Wars Battlefront 2. Those are exactly what I would be going for myself. Again, this brings brand new life into a lot of older titles, and for Game Pass players, Game Pass Ultimate subscribers, I love this because it is getting maybe some people that were like, I never picked up Titanfall. I heard the first one was average, the second one was good, but I never picked it up. Or they heard that the Star Wars Battlefront 2 game was plagued with problems and they just skipped it and they said, forget it. I don't want to buy it. Getting it through EA Play is a bonus, but it's more shots out there from Xbox to be able to say, look at what we're doing, look at what we're offering for players. And it gets enough people to go into the service, I feel, and at least try stuff. And that's what Xbox wants you to do, because you never know. Because if somebody's like, if they said, I never played Plants vs. Zombies games, or you've got kids like Matt, and you want to try something new, you're getting updated games. And think about it too, guys, and just to end the show here in a minute, but think about it too as we were younger, and we were all the young lads and ladies, and you got your cartridge, you got your N64 game, that was it. Buggy as all hell, or whatever the hell was wrong with it, that was the game. And that was the experience you got. your NES, your Sega, all of it. Those were the games, even into PlayStation era, even to the original Xbox. Those were the games, and that was all we got. And we are what's really positive, because we do positivity on the Assemble show. We talk gaming and nerdy stuff, and WWE, and I'm loving that you guys love the things that I love, by the way. But to be positive about everything, look at where we are today. Gamer Guy, hello. You got us just at the end of the show. We're just kind of wrapping up and just chit-chatting for a second here. But thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for supporting the show. We're just saying that it's... Think about when we were kids, and we had cartridges, and we were playing our games, and that was the game. The piece to look at to be very positive about all of this, it's not to be an Xbox fanboy or anything, but just for gamers in general. We are at a point where we are getting these titles that have been out for a few years, and they get a second breath, third breath of life in them, where a Battlefield 5, Titanfall 2, Plants vs. Zombies, like anything that we're looking at, Destiny gets updates. Like all of these games, some of them that we absolutely love, they get extra love and care, and they get brought forward, even incrementally if it's just a frame rate boost. But to be honest, sometimes doing a frame rate boost, it can change the way an entire game feels for you, and it makes it way more engaging and more fun. And I'm excited for that because when it comes to shooters, I play a ton of shooters every year from across the board, from Star Wars to Battlefield. I'll play all of these. I have played like basically all of these titles. I play all the Battlefield games. I play Titanfall. I play Battlefront. I've had these games. And I always want to have the best experience possible. That's what you're paying for. And to be able to get these games out to have extra life in them, I think it's a win. And I think Sony, on the Sony side of things that we've talked about today, with Firewalk and the multiplayer service or multiplayer game, I think that potentially there could be, let me know in the chat what you guys think. Do you think that for this PlayStation exclusive, for Firewalk and this team, do you think that we are going to get an E3 teaser trailer, something, discussion, promotion of this game and what they're working on? That's where I'm at. I think that we will get something brought forward. And PlayStation Video Pass as well, just dabbling into that. 1 year with Poland, and then they're going to be moving it forward. But they're going to have to beef this thing up, but I'm glad that it's going to be its own standalone app service that people can subscribe to. And it will be tied into PlayStation Plus, but we'll see how long that will last. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here on the Assemble Show. I appreciate you guys, every single one of you, taking the time to pop in around lunchtime, whatever time it is for you. If it's lunch, morning, dinner, evening, could be anything. But thank you so much for joining us here on the show, talking all things games, all the nerdy news that is updated today. If you like the show, do me a favor and support us over on YouTube, youtube.com/assemble show. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the show if you're new, if you consider that. It's free to subscribe. You don't like it, you take your subscription back. Same with the thumbs up. You thumbs up and stuff. You don't like it, you thumb down. It hurts my feelings slightly, but then I move on and have coffee. And if you'd like to, if you can be like Perry Stark, you can be and join the Team Assemble Universe and become a Assemble Universe member. You get all the fun badges and emotes and things like that. And we will be moving more content and getting more content over onto the actual community section of things by joining as members. We're probably going to be beefing up. Stay tuned for that because we'll be adding more content in there exclusive for members down the road. I appreciate you guys all being here. Thank you very much for joining us. And as always, thank you guys for assembling with us. See ya.